Krishna, 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 hey. Krishna, 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 hey. Krishna, 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 Rakshamam. Krishna, 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 Pahimam. Rama Raghava, Rama Raghava, Rama Raghava, Rakshamam. Krishna Keshava, Krishna Keshava, Krishna Keshava, Pahimam. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya, Krishna Preshtaya, Bhutale, Sri Mate Bhakti Vedanta, Swaminiti Namine. Namaste Saraswate Deve, Gauravani Pracharine, Nirvishesha Shunyavadi, Pashyatya Desha Tarine. Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda, Shri Advaita Gadadhar, Shri Vasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda. Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda, Jaya Advaita Gadadhar, Shri Vasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Nama Krishna Yadavaya Namaha, Gopala Govinda Rama Sri Madhusudana. Hare Nama Krishna Yadavaya Namaha, Gopala Govinda Rama Sri Madhusudana. Om Apavitra Pavitro Va, Sarva Avastang Gatopi Va, Yat Smaret Pundarik Akshang, Sabaya Abhyantara Suchi. Shri Vishnu, Shri Vishnu, Shri Vishnu. Om Jnana Timarandasya Jnana Anjana Shalakaya, Chakshurinmilitam Yena Tasmai Sri Gurave Namaha. Mukam Karoti Vachalam Pangong Lang Hayate Girim, Yat Kripa Tamahang Vandi Sri Gurung Dinataranam Yat Kripa Tamahang Vande Parama Ananda Madhavam Trinadapi Sunichena Torad Iva Sahishnu Na Amani Namanadina Kirtaniya Sadahari Hare Nama Hare Nama Hare Nama Eva Kivalam Kalau Nastyeva 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 Gatir Anyata Guru Mukha Padma Vakya Chitete Korea Aikya Arna Koriho Mane Asha Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So we are studying the Krishna-lila, the ending pastimes of Krishna. Today is part 2 of this section entitled The Sage's Curse, the Yadu Dynasty. Shukadeva Goswami said, the sages Vishvamitra, Asita, Kanva, Durvasa, Bhrigu, Angira, Kashyapa, Vamadeva, Attari, and Vashista, along with Narada and others, once performed fruitive rituals that award abundant results, bring great happiness, and take away the sins of Kali Yuga for the whole world merely by being recounted. The sages duly executed these rituals in the home of the chief of the Yadus, Vasudeva, father of Lord Krishna. After Lord Krishna, who was staying in Vasudeva's house as time personified, respectfully sent the sages off. At the conclusion of the ceremonies, they went to the holy place known as Pindaraka. And to that holy place, the young boys of the Yadu dynasty had brought Samba, son of Jambavati, dressed in a woman's garb. Playfully approaching the great sages gathered there, the boys grabbed hold of the sages' feet and impudently asked them with feigned humility, "Oh, learned Brahmanas, this black-eyed pregnant woman has something to ask you, but she is too embarrassed to inquire for herself. She is just about to give birth and is very desirous of having a son. Since all of you are great sages with infallible vision, please tell us whether her child will be a boy or a girl." Thus ridiculed by deceit, the sages became angry and told the boys, "Fools, she will bear you an iron club, and that club will destroy your entire dynasty." Upon hearing the curse of the sages, the terrified boys quickly uncovered the belly of Samba, and indeed they observed that therein was an iron club. The young men of the Yadu dynasty then said, "Oh, what have we done? We are most unfortunate. What will our family members say to us?" Speaking like this and becoming very disturbed, the boys returned home, taking the club with them. The Yadu boys, the luster of their faces completely faded, brought the club into the royal assembly. And in the presence of all the Yadavas, the boys told King Ugrasena what had happened. Because of their shame and fear, the boys did not approach Krishna. O King Parikshit, when the inhabitants of Dwaraka heard of the infallible curse of the Brahmanas and saw the club, they were most astonished and became distraught with fear. King Ugrasena then started thinking, Samba and the others should not feel any shame or fear. Thus, without even consulting Krishna, Ugrasena ordered the club ground into bits and then thrown into the water, along with a small iron lump that remained, which Ugrasena considered insignificant. After having the club ground to bits, the king of the Yadus, known as Ahuka or Ugrasena, personally threw the pieces along with the remaining lump of iron into the water of the ocean. Then a certain fish swallowed the iron lump, and the tiny bits of iron carried back to the shore by the waves implanted themselves there and grew into tall, sharp canes. That fish was then caught in the ocean along with other fish in a fisherman's net. The iron lump in the fish's stomach was then taken by a hunter known as Jara, who then fixed it as an arrowhead at the end of his shaft. However, fully knowing the significance of all these events, Krishna, although capable of reversing the Brahmana's curse, did not wish to do so. Rather, in his form of time, Krishna gladly sanctioned all of these events. Now we have some purport to this section. The word aptakama means that Krishna is always self-satisfied. And yet, in order to execute his transcendental pastimes, Krishna arranged to destroy his own dynasty for 3 specific purposes. Number 1, to re-establish in the heavenly planets those demigods who had taken birth among the Yadus to assist Krishna. Number 2, to re-establish Krishna's plenary Vishnu expansions in their abodes, such as Vaikuntha, Shweta-dvipa, and Badarika ashram. And number 3, to remove himself from the vision of the mundane world, along with his eternal associates. Lord Krishna is mentioned here as Kalatmana, the form of time or supersoul. Krishna was staying in the home of his father, Vasudeva, as time personified, thus indicating that the time was approaching for the destruction of Krishna's own dynasty, according to Krishna's desire. Herein, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati has made the following comment. The impudent behavior of the young Yadus toward the sages headed by Narada who were all Brahmanas and devotees of the Lord, was actually a display of deviation from the path of Lord Krishna. The Yadu Kumar's deception is termed seemingly humble, meaning that in fact they were anything but humble. Therefore, the ridiculing of Vaishnavas by Krishna's own family resulted in a great offense against the devotees of the Lord. Srila Jiva Goswami has confirmed that the lack of humility shown by the sons of the Yadu dynasty was an arrangement by Krishna himself. In other words, the members of the Yadu dynasty are ultimately associates of Lord Krishna, and to facilitate the instructive pastimes of Krishna, they acted in apparently unethical ways. The four defects inherent in a conditioned soul are four: Brahma, the tendency to commit mistakes; Pramada, illusion; Karnapatava, imperfect senses; Vipralipsa, the tendency to cheat. These four inherent defects are not found in pure devotees of the Lord. Krishna, however, arranged for the young members of his own family, the Yadu dynasty, to exhibit the dangerous lower propensities of mankind. Thus, the Yadava boys imitated the activities of the followers of a pseudo-devotional cult. Just before his disappearance, Krishna desired that the sages become angry at the young members of the Yadu dynasty in order to teach Vaishnavas cannot be thought of as foolish, ignorant, or mundane, and also to reduce the false pride of Krishna's own family members. Sometimes misguided persons assume the roles of pseudo-devotees, but they blaspheme the actual process of pure devotional service and blaspheme pure devotees who are actually surrendered to the preaching of Krishna consciousness. Such foolish pseudo-devotees think that their hatred or envy of the actual preaching mission of Krishna constitutes bhakti, but in fact it constitutes the cause of the trouble both for them and for the unfortunate people who follow them. Preachers of pure devotional service expose the pernicious, dangerous attempts of the pseudo-devotees. Upon hearing the words of the Vaishnavas, headed by Narada, the Yadu boys lifted the garment which was covering Samba's abdomen, and then they saw the fruit of their offense which they had committed against devotees by their deceit. For there was an actual club meant to destroy their dynasty. This example shows that in a polluted society, the club of duplicity can never bring peace, which is found in the society of devotees. Rather, such duplicity smashes all the non-devotional activities and whimsical doctrines of the pseudo-devotees. The Yadu boys were wary about jeopardizing their advanced position. And the Yadu boys indeed had been thinking that as long as they kept their trickery concealed, others would never be able to detect such sophisticated cheating. Nonetheless, they were unable to protect their family from the reaction of their grievous offense against Vaishnava devotees of the Lord. Because of their shame and fear, the boys did not approach Krishna. Ordinary persons may be surprised or bewildered that Krishna gladly sanctioned the cursing and destruction of his own dynasty. The Sanskrit word anvamodata used here indicates taking pleasure in something or giving sanction or approval. Also, it is mentioned Kala Rupi. Krishna gladly gave his sanction to the Brahmana's curse in the form of time. Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Prabhupada has commented that the Supreme Lord, Sri Krishna Chandra, decided to maintain the curse intact in order to protect the actual principles of religion and destroy the unbecoming offense of the deceitful members of the Krishna dynasty. Clearly, it is mentioned in Bhagavad Gita that the whole purpose of Krishna's descent into the material world is to re-establish the authentic principles of religion, dharma sangstapanarthaya. For these principles are that by which the conditioned souls who are suffering intensely under the laws of material nature can once again regain their original existential status as eternally liberated servants of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna. The living entity comes down to this material world with the express desire to lord it over material nature. Although the living entity is in fact not a lord, but an eternal servant. But due to this perverted tendency to exploit the entire world for one's own sense gratification, the living entity is also prone to try to pervert the principles of real spiritual life, so that the eternal religious principles become appropriate to one's own material sense gratification. However, true religion is meant for pleasing the Supreme Lord, first by obeying Krishna's laws. And therefore, Krishna himself personally comes from time to time to revive and enliven the correct method of devotional service to Krishna's lotus feet. In this 11th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, it is clearly stated that Lord Krishna had completed the vast majority of his pastimes on earth and was now making final arrangements for his departure. Therefore, Krishna wished to leave behind a most vivid lesson for all the living entities of this age of Kali, meaning that any so-called religious person, even if one is so exalted as to take birth in Krishna's personal family, cannot violate the respect and reverence which is due to the pure devotees of the Lord, such as Narada Muni. The principle of serving the pure devotee of Krishna is so essential for spiritual advancement that Krishna exhibited the inconceivable pastime of causing the destruction of his entire dynasty just to impress this point upon the conditioned souls of Kali Yuga. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Okay, give me 1 second here.